You say, and you've mentioned it a bit here, and you tweeted and you said, thing about me is I don't let my faith culture come in between the science. A lot of learned people compromise and misinform because science often challenges many religious and cultural beliefs. I'm unlearning and be careful what information you believe, even from learned friends.
Yeah.
So is this like your mission?
My
as you
mission
continue?
is to teach people how to analyze what they read or what they receive as information. Like my mission is not to become like as long as Dr. Rain said it, that's it's the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
It's for you to actually be able to also think for yourself and say, okay, so Dr. Rain said this. Where did he quote it
Right.
from? Is there any study that has said this and this? Or before I retweet this or post it, or before I forward this WhatsApp message, let me check, because you've said Ministry of Health. Let me check what the Ministry of Health has actually said
Yeah.
before I forward and share misinformation. That's my whole point, because I have seen it with my colleagues. I have seen it in the time of COVID, where certain, especially the Catholic Church, gets very involved, very anti-vaccinations. Even on the COVID-19 vaccinations, we were losing a lot of mothers. Because for me as a pediatrician, I'm very, very closely linked to the mother. So I work a lot with pregnant mothers just about to give birth.
Yes.
So we lost a lot of mothers to COVID complications. It was getting really, really bad. There was a time our deaths was just like, once you're pregnant, you have COVID, it was like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife got pregnant the time for COVID, so
Wow.
it was really stressful.
Yes.
But here you have evidence, you have data, but you still have learned people who are Catholics that don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're different people. They're people who let their cultural things get into beliefs. For example, about abortion.
Yeah.
If somebody gets raped, and this is a girl who is probably 13 years old or 14 years old, and she's pregnant, the question of why would you want to put this girl through a pregnancy that you know is going to affect her entire trajectory from school to also the future? Most likely, this girl is also from a society where this child is not going to grow up having the right support.
Yep.
And once this child is born into this type of society, the child is going to experience what we call adverse childhood experiences, become more prone to suicidal tendencies, more substance abuse, more into physical abuse relationships or issues with relationships. So you've basically messed up not only the 13-year-old child, but that child that is also going to come.
There's also the issue around contraceptives and family planning.
Contraceptives, family planning, and the like. So those are the things I talk about, the things that people don't want to talk about or are too afraid to talk about.
Yeah.
Like for me, abortion no person should tell a woman what they should do with the body.
Yeah.
14, 15, 16, no person has the right to tell whether or not she should terminate or not terminate.
Is that where the activist checks in? Because you have been described as well as an activist. Is it mostly within your field or just activism against misinformation?
I think misinformation is my new enemy now, but I've always been a vocal person.
Yeah.
I think it's the way I've been raised. It's got a lot to do with the influence of my mother, who was also a very vocal person. Back in the days, women were supposed to keep quiet. Even like I said, I was in Russia. So for me, my activism, when I try to look back, it started then. Russia at that time was dealing with a lot of racism.
Yeah.
We had a lot of neo-Nazis, what we call skinheads and things like that. So I was very vocal about that. I found myself more and more being given position of spokesman and stuff like that. So I feel I'm very passionate and emotional about things that are not right, or when people are taking advantage of other people, and people are, maybe it's a bad thing. So ideally a person would be like, oh, if I say this out loud, I'm going to get in trouble. Maybe I should relax. So I don't have that, thing. I thought maybe when I grow older,
you'd be more subtle.
I am now. I'm not as I used to be, but
I mean, would you then translate this activist side of you, put it into, and I know you've led other people in the medical fraternity to fight and push for change, but would you solidify that with leadership within, unions for the doctors. Are you gonna take up that?
Well, maybe not unions. I
Associations.
work hand in hand with the union. I'm a union member. Um, I'm very, I don't like politics. I find when you get into politics, you lose your ability to be your own self, to vocalize certain issues,
Right.
because now you have to be politically correct.
Yeah.
Now it's a position in a system that works a certain way. So yes, you have maybe the voice of, let's say if you're in the union and you have the voice of the doctors or the teachers, but at the same time, when you're in there, you're told, hey, boss, even ndo kunaendanga,
Yeah.
And I mean, being in a union is a very political position. You
Right.
have to lobby, you have to do certain things. And I mean, that's how the world works and things like
Right.
that. I try to be apolitical as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I have, when I was a resident at the University of Nairobi, I was chief resident for the pediatric registrars in that department. I mean, I keep finding myself in these, like, I call them spokesman positions.
The leadership
or
is calling you.
roles of leadership calling.
It's calling
But
you.
yeah,
You don't like politics, you
I don't
said.
like politics.
All right.
My family's gone through politics. So my mom was a politician at some time. She
Okay.
ran for MP in Mombasa.
Okay.
So yeah, I know about politics. I don't want to touch that.
But I think you're leading anyway because you have the space on social media and people follow you. So it's still happening.